Thank you very much. Thanks for staying for the second day and listening to this panel. We have a great lineup. For the sake of time, I won't introduce each individual. They're all great experts in their fields, and we've given the impossible task of discussing all these issues in about 45 minutes. So we'll really try to move fast. And I want to get started right away. Melodina, so what are some of the ethical challenges that journalists and media organizations might face given the advances in the AI? We have heard over the past couple of days really statements ranging from, this is a turning point in human history to, well, humans will still be very relevant and will be able to stay on top of things. But what are the challenges we are facing in terms of AI ethics, questions around that, please? Thank you.
So thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the Directorate of Communications of Turkey. I want to also say a very warm thank you to our hosts. This is an amazing set of people over here, and I am very touched by seeing the talent that Turkey actually has. So thank you for that. So I want to just start with a small example. Words have tremendous power. Words can cause wars. Words can heal broken hearts. Words can give hope. Words can do so many things. And it is a journalist's responsibility to choose the words with which they go and look at the lens of the world. Can AI do this? AI can also choose words. But it's not just about choosing words. It's about the words that are untold, and AI cannot do this. So a journalist today has a very unique role because they sit and they listen to what is said and what is not said and give words to capture moments and to change people's hearts and minds. And one of the things we see currently right now is AI, it can build trust, but it can also destroy it in a moment. And this is where journalism comes in, your reputation, your integrity. What is different from journalism, and maybe when I think of influencers, the key thing that I think is different is this passion for facts. You cross-verify the information. You protect your sources because it is built on trust. They tell you things, and they share their emotions with you, and you capture them. So I have a couple of questions. Currently, right now, for fact-checking, we assume for journalism we can use fact-checkers. And this is some sort of data that is there. There are more than 500 organizations that do fact-checking. Is it enough? The answer is no. There's been a lot of studies. Eventually, we go back to humans to fact-check. And the accuracy of fact-checking depends on the context, on what information that they have. And humans also have their biases in especially very sensitive issues. We've seen this in the war in Gaza, for example. The other question is, can we have transparency? This is kind of interesting because transparency is not that easy, and I'll explain why. We're using a lot of large language models. People have been talking about ChatGPT. The first challenge is, of course, if you want language translations, these models are really expensive to train. We're talking about millions of dollars, and it's not enough to train it once. You have to constantly retrain. But the bigger issue I find right now is the speed at which AI works. So if you look at Google's new release, Willow, it can do in a couple of minutes something that a supercomputer will take 10 raised to the power of 25 years. That's longer than you and I will be living for about, 500 millennia. This is difficult. How do you fact check? We cannot go back and look at the algorithm. It's a black box. We cannot go and trace if it's verifiable. So these technologies are being deployed at scale. They are getting faster and faster. We don't know the source of the data. We're making assumptions. Just as an example, only 2% of the data being produced is actually stored. Most of the data being produced is visual. So we're we're actually doing sentiment analysis on a lot of visual data, and I may not say what I actually feel, so that itself raises biases. So I think when we're doing communications, and especially journalism, I want to highlight why journalism is different. We have a lot of things to talk about, especially with the context of AI. I'll stop there right now because of time.
Thank you so much. I want to move directly to Ismail. Ismail is working with the Directorate of Communications, which I'm quite grateful for, because putting this together, because this is in Turkey we've always had challenges in often keeping up with technology, let alone these questions that are really on top of everybody's minds around the world. And you're right there working with them in the directing their R&D in this area. So I'm really curious about your perspective as well, about how you see the issues that Medadina raised, especially from a perspective of the Communications Directorate.
Teşekkür ederim. Şöyle aslında, yani hem benim bireysel yaklaşımım ve tabii ki bir noktaya kadar da kurumun iletişim başkanlığının yaklaşımı aktarmaya gayret edeyim. Söz konusu teknoloji olunca, özellikle de iletişim teknolojileri olunca aslında şöyle yeni bir teknoloji hayatımıza girdiğinde, bize tanıtıldığında, kullanmaya başladığımızda belli basamaklardan, merhalelerden geçiyoruz. Bunlardan birincisi aslında bir hayranlık ve şaşkınlık dönemi yaşıyoruz. Gerçekten etkileyici. Yani insanlar ilk televizyonu gördüklerinde, işte kısa dalgayla seslerin aktarıldığını gördüğünde, ondan sonra insanlar ilk dijital teknolojiler, interneti kullanmayı gördüklerinde yaşadıkları bir hayranlık, bir şaşkınlık vardı. Bunu biz de yapay zeka için hem bireysel kullanıcılar olarak hem de aslında bununla ilgili bir şekilde kamusal ya da akademik tepkiler geliştirmeye çalışan insanlar olarak bunu biz de yaşadık. Hemen bunun akabinde iki farklı aşama geliyor. Bu iki farklı aşamanın hangisinin öncelikli olduğu birazcık çalıştığınız kurumun görev, sorumluluk alanına göre ya da sizin kişisel ilgi alanınıza göre değişiyor. Hani buna 2 ile 3 diyeceğim ama öncelik sıralaması yapmayacağım aralarında. Bu hayranlıktan sonra hemen bu teknolojinin ikinci olarak nasıl çalıştığını, hani bunun arka planında ne var, teknik olarak ne yer alıyor onu algılamaya çalışıyoruz. Ve dediğim gibi bir öncelik sıralaması olmadan üçüncü olarak da aslında daha işin sosyal bilimlere bakan boyutundaysak, daha topluma bakan boyutundaysak bunun etik kaygılarını konuşmaya başlıyoruz. Yani yapay zeka ile ilgili olarak tam olarak bu durumdayız. Ve yapay zeka özelinde aslında şöyle bir şey de var, bu 2 ile 3'te 2 ile 3'ün aslında bir araya geçtiğini, iç içe geçtiğini, birbirinden çok farklı şeyler olmadığını da bize çok iyi gösteren bir örnek. Çünkü işin geldiğimizde, teknolojik kısmına geldiğimizde algoritmalar karşımıza çıkıyor ve aslında etik sorgulamayı da algoritmalar üzerinden başlatmış oluyoruz. Bugün de zaten işte yapay zeka ile ilgili dünyada ve Türkiye'de ve bizim bir kamu kurumu olarak iletişim başkanlığı bünyesinde ilgimizin nereye odaklandığına bakarsak işte artık algoritmik tarafsızlığı konuşuyoruz. Algoritmalara sızmış olan ön yargıları nasıl azaltabileceğimizi konuşuyoruz. Sorumlu ve etik yapay zeka girişimlerini desteklemeye, hem bu sivil girişimler olabilir, bunları desteklemeye hem de bir kamu kurumu olarak bunlara öncülük etmeye gayret ediyoruz. Burada çok önem verdiğimiz başlıklardan birisi şeffaflık bağlamında açıklanabilir yapay zeka. Yani çok fazla teknik bilgiye sahip olmayan bir yapay zeka kullanıcısı da arka planda ne dönüyor bunu anlayabilmesi lazım. Bu hem işin teknik boyutuyla hem de etik boyutuyla ve işte adil makine öğrenimi gibi kavramlar gündemimizde. Bunları hem düşünsel boyutuyla, entelektüel boyutuyla ele alıyoruz hem de teknik boyutuyla ele alıyoruz. Ama bunların hepsinde karşımıza çıkan şey şu, işte bu etkinlik boyunca çok kıymetli uzmanlar, hani biraz daha spesifik bir noktaya gelelim, Deepfake'ten bahsettiler ve aslında hani burada bir yarışı görüyoruz. Deepfake bir yanda yükseliyor. Yeni teknolojiler onu detect edebilecek, yakalayabilecek, tespit edebilecek yeni teknolojiler, sonra o yeni teknolojileri aşabilecek Deepfake. Bu bana birazcık şeyi çağrışıyor. Çok böyle teknolojik determinist bir yerde kalmak istemem de hani bilgisayar hayatımıza girdiğinde bu virüsler ve antivirüs yazılımlarının rekabeti gibi bir şey. Bu örneği şunun için verdim. Aslında iletişimciler olarak baktığımızda, medya işiyle ilgilenenler olarak baktığımızda ve bir yönüyle gazeteciler olarak da baktığımızda şöyle bir şey var karşımızda. Diğer iletişim teknolojilerinde yaşadığımız meydan okumalar ve buna karşı geliştirmeye çalıştığımız etik önlemler, ahlaki önlemler neyse bunu yapay zeka özelinde de yaşıyoruz. Yani evet, bugün can yakıcı olan şey Deepfake, hem bu oturumun konusu itibariyle hem de yapay zeka itibariyle Deepfake, ama yani birazcık daha, çok eskiye gitmeyelim, birazcık daha önceye gidelim. Hani biz dijital medyaya hayranlık duymayı bırakıp ya bunun arka planında ne var ve bunun etik kodları nedir dediğimizde orada da manipülasyonu, dezenformasyonu konuşmaya başlamıştık ve hemen aslında nasıl bunun önüne geçebiliriz sorusu aklımıza geldi ve işte dünya çapında teyit hatları ve bölgesel olarak, yerel olarak da bu uygulamaları başlatmaya başladık. Yani dolayısıyla ben buradan toparlayacağım. Kadir'le daha önce de biz çok bulunduk. Zaman konusundaki hassasiyetini biliyorum ve bugün de çok haklı. Ondan sonra yani aslında bu bizi bir yere getiriyor. Yani bizim artık belki özellikle yapay zekanın bugünkü aşamasında işte bu demin bahsettiğim kötü kullanım ve onu önleme yarışında dönüp şu soruyu birazcık daha yüksek sesle kendimize sormamız gerekiyor. İnsan unsuru, insan faktörü. Yani hiçbir teknoloji, yani ne yaparsak yapalım, ne bu konuda Deepfake'in önüne geçebiliriz, ne dezenformasyonun önüne geçebiliriz diğer medya mecraları kullanılarak. Ve bunların üzerine geliştirdiğimiz aslında her tarama yazılımı, her tarama yöntemi, her doğrulama, teyit yöntemi aslında bu beraber birbirlerini besleyerek giden süreçler olduğu için aslında sahteciliğin de, Deepfake'in de önünü açmış oluyoruz. Yani biz bir taramada bir eşik atladığımızda Deepfake de bir eşik atlıyor. Bu bitmeyecek bir yarış. Bu yönüyle hani bunu sonsuza kadar giden bir yarış da değerlendirebilirsiniz ya da nereden baktığınıza göre kısır döngü de diyebilirsiniz. Fakat burada noktayı koyacak olan şey insan unsurudur, insanın etik ilkeleridir, insanın ahlaki ilkeleridir. Haber odasında, hani gazetecilikten bahsediyoruz, haber odasında kullanacağımız hiçbir yapay zeka uygulaması ya da hiçbir yapay zeka sahtecilik detect eden, yakalayan, tespit eden uygulama insan unsurundan, insanın etik değerlerinden, insanın ahlaki kaygılarından daha gelişmiş olmayacaktır. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Çok teşekkürler İsmail. Thank you very much for that. So I want to make a slight adjustment, and Anka, I want to go to you before having the journalists talk about their experience. But Anka, we've heard the issues with AI development, especially in terms of journalism, fact-checking, transparency, algorithms. There's black box. We don't know what kind of information they've accumulated and are using. The issues of impartiality, bias, responsible AI, and transparency. And then Ismail gave a strong, good answer. Like, this is a race, and we've always raced against the machines in many ways. And he thinks, from what I can gather, humans are going to win at the end. Or it will be more valuable, however you want to read his comments. But are we going to lose this battle, you think? How are deepfakes are created really, and how are they impacting journalism, in your opinion?
Thank you. So I am here, let's say, with a dual perspective. I am an AI scientist at heart and as the background. I own an AI company and we do strategies for governments and we work also with media. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have a double responsibility as a creator of AI and also as an advisor. I want to say first that AI is definitely a tool that is helpful for the humanity, but it's also offers the biggest and the most important manipulation instrument currently available for governments, for companies, for everyone, even between ourselves. Unfortunately, all the time where we have such a powerful tool, it comes with a positive side and with a negative side. What I can say in terms of deepfakes, that this is just the beginning. So I want to be more optimistic, but currently we are working with my company and also others at a technology that can access human thoughts. So we can go beyond just putting a pretty face on another person in a certain video, or by, let's say, by using tools that even like my 8-year-old nephew can use to swipe voices. Unfortunately, the situation will be more serious, and for journalists, they will need to make a stand and to find solutions. And for this, we need to collaborate. On an optimistic note, I was just like checking the latest, let's say, research done on deepfakes, that there was an interesting journal article in Nature Communications this year that specified that actually our brain is capable of detecting deepfake, and especially deepfake voices. There is a part in our brain called the social brain, the part responsible with social rewards and bonding. Is the part like that, for example, children use to identify the voice of their mother, or the part that gets activated when us adults listen to pleasant music. Well, actually, that part becomes sensitive when it hears a voice that it's not real. So there is still hope. The brain actually can identify if there is a deep fake. Although there are subtle nuances, I think that this is possible, and there are studies in this direction. So actually, we are very intelligent and capable of dealing with this technology. However, our short attention span, our instinct, rather than our analytical thinking, makes us victims sometimes. Even me as a scientist, sometimes I just don't pay so much attention to all the details, and it might get some false information into my hands. Of course, as primary scientists, I always double fact check everything. However, we have to implement this, and we have to educate ourselves to be able to understand what is media, and to be able to not misuse it, and to be able to not, let's say, become victims of manipulation done with AI. I am Romanian, and this year, like a month ago, we had elections in my country, and I think that we are among the first nations where the first round of presidential elections got canceled. Why? Because of AI, and because of a very good marketing company that actually managed to play with the already existing AI algorithms of a social platform that we know and use. And they managed actually to create so much impact that an independent candidate that was not known about or ever heard about became like the first one in 3 days. He got the most popular, and he got the most votes. How is this possible in a democratic country with 18 million people, and which are very educated, a lot of them, and which already passed through communism? Well, this is the problem with not deep fake, but actually with the manipulation that is available through AI. But as I said, AI is created by humans, and it's not perfect. So this means we can even manipulate those AI algorithms. So ultimately, we have to make sure that we can find a way, through regulations, through discussion, and through education, to solve this problem in the future. From my perspective, in terms of what will happen, I think that we have to look a bit in the past, but also check a bit like futurists or why not philosophers mention about the future of humanity. And I just want to close by recommending a very good book that I like a lot, which is Dark Aeon, Transhumanism and the War Against Humanity by Joe Allen, that I recommend everyone to read. which kind of answers your question and about what will happen in the future. And I just want to add one more thing. I think that it is a very unhappy land, the one that needs a hero. It's a saying that belongs to a very famous German playwright, and it actually refers to us. We look at AI as a hero that needs to save us, but actually it's just a tool, and we humans, our human capabilities, and we are with our amazing brains, are the ones that can save us or that can destroy us. So basically, this is a question that I like the audience to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Anka. Thanks for giving us some hope about brains still being capable of, recognizing these things. But, there are some futurists that talk about basically Turing tests being imminent, within the next few years. So maybe in the second round, you can perhaps address that question. What I've read is once Turing test is passed, all bets are off. It will be unrecognizable, and then how do we get from there? But your point was to emphasize the importance of educating ourselves, right? Being more conscious readers, etc. That's what I'm getting from that. Very important point. And I want to move along and go to Sejin about his journalistic experience and how it has impacted AI, deepfakes, the issues that have been raised already. How are they making things easier or more difficult for you today as you do journalism?
Yes. Hello, I'm Park Sejin from Seoul, South Korea. I'm a reporter and editor from a news agency called Aju Press. And I came, firstly, I would like to thank the Communication Directorate of Turkey's presidential office for offering me such a wonderful opportunity to speak in front of you. And I would like to share about my experience, or Aju's experience of adopting AI into media companies and teaching young reporters on how to use AI. So when ChatGPT was first released in early 2023, some of us thought it was like a passing trend, like metaverse. Or some found it interesting, but also found it was not good enough to actually use it. But for me, it made me wonder whether it was like a Skynet that you see in Terminator movie. So it could do what it can do really nice. Say, it can proofread, and it can also edit news articles really nicely and really fast. And another thing that it could do really well is to summarize long text and long content into very short content, so that will speed up our work. And it also prompts our bosses. My bosses will really hate me for saying this, but my bosses were saying, can you use ChatGPT for writing a news article in like 5 minutes? You can literally print out news articles using ChatGPT. And those things had also prompt our executive board to provide reporters with subsidies to actually use subscriptions for various AI solutions. And during the way, after about a year of usage, we found some problems with using AI. As Ms. Manalova has said in the previous discussion, the AI has a very good skill of inserting misinformation and disinformation into the results. So I was searching for King Sejong the Great, who created Hangul, the Korean alphabet, in the 15th century. And I asked ChatGPT to provide me a historical incident involving King Sejong. And ChatGPT told me that King Sejong smashed his iPad onto the floor during a debate with bureaucrats. So, and there was no guilt in giving me such an idea. And through the process, then all our editors were trying to double check the results which the AI solutions have given us. And it took us longer and took us more effort to actually double check each facts that were given by ChatGPT. So it prompted us to go back to our old ways again, search for information and sort out information, write out new stories again. And another problem was that we found was AI slowed down the learning curve of young reporters. So what AI made young reporters think was the outcome was their own skill. So I was taught in the old school way where my senior reporter, my mentor, would call me to his desk after I write a news article. He would make me stand right next to him while he types on the keyboard, and I would stand next to him for hours and hours and hours looking into his monitor to find out how he is making changes to my news article. Now that process is totally gone. And it is quicker though, but the reporters do not have the opportunity to actually learn the editing process. And also, personally, I feel that the process of passing down the experience and the knowledge of our senior reporters and our senior editors through the process of training young reporters has been lost. So those are the problems that we found on the way. And what we are doing is we are setting up policies, internal policies, to prevent such things from happening again. So the policies that we've set up so far, that we only use AI for proofreading or polishing an article to the final stage only. We do not use AI to generate a news article. And we are very careful when summarizing a news article using AI, so we have to double check all the time. And another thing is that we do not use AI-generated images because they are eventually compositions of faces and images of those that already exist. So, however, we allow the generation of illustrations and graphs and diagrams, so those are okay. And so our final conclusion or current conclusion on AI, our company's conclusion on AI is like a double-edged sword. So if it is used by a skilled swordsman or skilled reporter, then it can perform very well. But if it's not used by, if it's used by unskilled reporter, then it can be disastrous. Yes.
Thank you, Zekânın. Thanks for highlighting both the advantages and some of the downsides and how to be careful actually when you're doing your journalistic work. So that's very helpful. And I found that, you know, summarizing and then proofreading can end up taking some of the, it can kind of push the writing more towards the mainstream because it's basically judging based on what's out there. And I felt that, you know, some individuality gets lost. So then your creative talent might be actually being suppressed in some ways. But Josephine, how can we mitigate some of these risks that AI brings, both in terms of bias and deepfakes we've been discussing and other issues, impartiality, and how can we mitigate these risks?
Okay. Mesdames et messieurs, si vous permettez, je voudrais dire quelques mots en turc pour commencer. Hanımefendiler, beyefendiler, değerli konukları, müsaadenizle biraz Türkçe konuşacağım. Bu değerli davet için Cumhurbaşkanlığı İletişim Başkanı Profesör Dr. Fahrettin Altun, Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Çağatay Özdemir ve zirvede emeği geçen tüm çalışanlara teşekkür ediyorum. Fransız gazeteci olarak Jeune Afrique dergisi için çalışıyorum. Türkiye uzmanıyım. Özellikle Türkiye-Afrika ilişkileri üzerine makaleler yazıyorum. Gazetecilik çalışmam kapsamında biraz yapay zeka kullanıyorum ve bu önemli konuda sizinle birkaç fikir paylaşmaktan mutluluk duyuyorum. Konuşmama şimdi müsaadenizle Fransızca olarak devam edeceğim. Teşekkür ederim. En 2018, nous avons vu Barack Obama s'exprimer. C'était bien lui, c'était son visage, c'était ses gestes, c'était son sourire et c'était sa voix. Et il critiquait, et même il disait quasiment des insultes au président Trump et à diverses personnalités politiques. Mais en réalité, ce n'était pas lui. C'était ce qu'on appelle un deepfake. En 2019, une vidéo un peu similaire a été réalisée avec Nancy Pelosi, cette fois, qui est la présidente de la Chambre des représentants aux États-Unis. On la voyait ivre et tenir des propos incohérents. Et un peu plus près de nous, en 2021, c'était le tour de l'acteur Tom Cruise d'être piégé également par finalement l'intelligence artificielle avec une image de lui qui semblait réelle, avec sa voix et avec des faits et gestes qui ne lui appartenaient pas. On le voyait jouer au golf, tomber, faire des tours de magie. Tout cela semblait plus vrai que nature, mais ce n'était pas vrai. Je travaille à Jeune Afrique, comme je vous l'ai dit, qui est un média panafricain basé à Paris. Nous commençons à être confrontés, bien sûr, à ce problème des deepfakes et de l'intelligence artificielle de manière générale. Nous savons déjà, et voilà un peu quelle est mon expérience, nous savons bien sûr que nous pouvons utiliser l'intelligence artificielle par ses grandes qualités, qui sont par exemple l'analyse d'une énorme quantité de données en très peu de temps, que nous gagnons beaucoup de temps pour des traductions, puisque nous avons aussi une publication en anglais via Africa Report, donc nous traduisons du français vers l'anglais et de l'anglais vers le français, de façon très rapide, mais avec un contrôle humain bien sûr. Nous utilisons aussi pour la transcription des interviews le passage de l'audio et de la voix à l'écrit pour notre site et pour notre journal. Et ainsi, nous pouvons gagner du temps pour consacrer justement davantage de temps à nos enquêtes, à nos reportages et à un travail plus approfondi. C'est donc un grand atout. Nous avons aussi un instrument d'intelligence artificielle, un logiciel qui peut nous proposer des titres pour nos articles, qui peut aussi nous donner des conseils comme le ferait un rédacteur en chef, c'est-à-dire nous proposer de faire un nouvel article sur le même sujet en l'approfondissant, donc nous suggérer des idées, ou alors de nous conseiller sur l'article qui est écrit en nous disant qu'on peut aller plus loin ou approfondir certains points de cet article déjà existant. L'intelligence artificielle nous aide aussi à cibler notre audience, à savoir quelles sont les préférences de nos lecteurs, quelles sont leurs habitudes de lecture, à les personnaliser et à leur proposer des sujets de lecture ou même des abonnements qui sont personnalisés. Donc voilà les grands avantages, je dirais, de l'intelligence artificielle. Maintenant, en tant que journaliste, rédactrice en chef, mais aussi, je m'exprime là en tant qu'écrivain, je dois le dire, assez inquiète de voir la banalisation, la standardisation de certains articles, la perte de langage, de nuances, de sensibilité qui en découle, l'absence de profondeur. Bien sûr aussi le problème de la rapidité excessive, c'est-à-dire que nous sommes passés à Internet, l'information va très vite, encore plus avec les réseaux sociaux et maintenant encore plus et beaucoup plus avec l'intelligence artificielle, tout va tellement vite. Avons-nous le temps de donner à nos lecteurs le temps d'avoir du recul, de l'analyse, de faire le tri des informations, de pouvoir digérer cette information, de pouvoir bien l'assimiler, la comprendre, la mesurer? Se pose aussi, bien sûr, la question des développeurs, ces personnes qui fabriquent l'intelligence artificielle. Je ne suis pas un technicien, mais bien sûr, ces hommes et ces femmes, ces êtres humains, ils ont leurs idées qu'ils diffusent, et certains peuvent avoir des préjugés, et ces préjugés ou ces idées, peut-être cette idéologie, peut donner lieu, bien sûr, à des manipulations et à des deepfakes. Tout cela nous amène à un nouveau métier dans le journalisme, le fact-checking, qui va se développer beaucoup, on l'a dit tout à l'heure, qui demande, comme on l'a dit aussi, de nouvelles compétences, une éducation spécifique pour les journalistes, des formations, mais aussi des moyens financiers que toutes les rédactions n'ont pas. Cela aussi demande la transparence, puisque nous devons alerter, prévenir nos lecteurs ou nos auditeurs quand nous sommes une radio que nous utilisons l'intelligence artificielle et dans quel domaine. On doit être très transparent, très clair et bien sûr très éthique sur ces questions. Enfin, pour certains journaux, il y a une lutte, comme vous savez, qui s'est engagée. Le New York Times, par exemple, a attaqué, fait un procès à ChatGPT et à Microsoft. D'autres journaux ont préféré passer des accords avec ChatGPT, par exemple. Donc il y a deux attitudes possibles et je vois que la presse aujourd'hui hésite entre ces attitudes-là pour faire respecter ses droits et qu'on n'utilise pas les articles que nous écrivons, notre contenu intellectuel, à des fins commerciales et qui ne rétribuerait pas nos journalistes et notre journal et qui utiliserait notre intelligence pour fabriquer cette intelligence artificielle. Et le fact-checking a ceci de paradoxal que finalement nous gagnons du temps avec l'intelligence artificielle, mais nous perdons aussi du temps en vérifiant ce qu'a fait l'intelligence artificielle. Et nous perdons aussi du temps et nous confions à l'intelligence artificielle de lutter contre une autre intelligence artificielle qui a fabriqué elle-même une information. Voilà tout le paradoxe. Pour terminer, je voudrais dire qu'être journaliste, ce n'est pas seulement agréger des données, agréger des informations, c'est produire des informations. Et comme on l'a dit tout à l'heure, comme l'a dit Milodena par exemple, le journaliste, c'est un être de chair et de sang qui vit, qui a son réseau d'informations, qui a ses informateurs, qui a besoin d'avoir confiance en ses sources et de gagner la confiance de ses sources pour attraper de l'information et vous la donner à vous, le public. Donc, je pense que dans ce cadre, le reportage a de beaux jours devant lui. Tout ce qui est reportage, tout ce qui est vécu sur le terrain est irremplaçable, pour le moment en tout cas. Tout ce qui est aussi critique littéraire, critique d'art, et également tout ce qui est idée, c'est-à-dire les éditorialistes, les columnistes, comme disent les Anglais. Voilà mes sentiments sur cette question. Je vous remercie. Teşekkür ederim.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for that. And it was interesting when you're using AI, which I also use in my work, when you're trying to figure out the best SEO, keywords and titles, subtitles, etc. You're trying to fit your article into a certain mold. You're trying to get AI to recognize what's the great thing about this article. So it's an interesting dynamic. You're trying to convince AI with AI that this is a good article that relays, valuable information. But thanks for pointing out some of the actual challenges that you're going through. And from what you're saying, I'm gathering, journalism has become a much harder job because the workflow has expanded. You have to go through many more steps in many ways. So young journalists might actually find it even more difficult these days from also Sejin, what you said about, you needed to be trained one-on-one and type things out. And anyway, so without me giving a speech, we have 1 minute each left. And my question is basically, from all of you, I'm hearing we need education and training for journalists, but we also need the audiences to recognize issues of ownership, authenticity, bias. Also, these organizations are trying to make money. These are commercial interests at play as well. So it's a very complex issue, but what can be done at the level of training and education for audiences, for journalists, and you have only 1 minute. Thank you. Please, Melody.
Oh, so thank you. So I work for the Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government, which was set up by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. He's the ruler of Dubai and the Prime Minister and Vice President of the United Arab Emirates. Our mandate is good governance, and one thing we have realized with AI, so we are very passionate about AI, you can see it in the national strategy. We were the first country to have a minister of AI. But AI is complex, it's embedded in the ecosystem, and I'll just give you one example. In 2022 in Buffalo, somebody decided to shoot somebody, and they put their video of the shooting on Twitch, which is a social media platform. 22 people saw it. Within 2 minutes, the video was removed. Do you have any idea how many people saw it afterwards? 300 million, right? So, sorry, it's 3 million. But you can just see the speed at which it's escalating. So it's not enough if we have good governance ourselves. It's not enough if journalists have good governance. It's not enough if we work with tech companies, and that's a whole other issue because they're private and profit motivated. But we need to educate the public because they shared it. So it comes back down to AI literacy, and I think I want to agree that at the end of the day, we all need to know what AI can do, what it cannot do, and what it should do. And if we don't know the differences between the three, we will have huge challenges going forward, because this is an important moment for human beings. AI is a machine, it's not intelligent. I know we gave it the name artificial intelligence. It tries to mimic intelligence. What it does really well is in narrow AI. So it can do text matching, so it does pattern matching in text, or visuals, which is trained behind the scenes with people, but it cannot think by itself. So we can do 100 tasks. I can see, I can read, I can smell, I can taste at the same time. AI cannot do this. And I think we need to understand that, first of all, we are special, we are different from AI. It's not intelligent, it is a machine, and we choose to decide what decisions AI should and should not do. Thank you.
Thank you. It's mine.
Teşekkür ederim. Tam soruna cevap olacak mı bilmiyorum ama bir dakikada söyleyebilecek şöyle bir şeyim var. Buraya gelmeden önce aşağıda sıramızın gelmesini beklerken bendeniz üniversitede de ders veriyorum. Esas mesleğim akademisyenlik. Bir talebem kendi doktora tezinde yapay zekayı nasıl kullandığına dair süreci anlattı ve hocam sizce bu etik mi böyle bir kullanım dedi. Ben de şöyle bir cevap verdim ona, ya aslında bu senin akademisyenlikten ne anladığına bağlı. Eğer akademisyenlikten sadece bir şeyleri yazmayı ya da bir literatür taraması yapmayı anlıyorsan bu etik değil. Ama sen akademisyenlikten daha analitik bir süreci anlıyorsan, mevcut literatürü kullanarak yeni şeyler söylemeyi, bir katkıda bulunmayı anlıyorsan senin kullanımın bence etik. Tabii bu bence de bunun şeyleri var. Herkes tarafından kabul edilmiş kuralları var. Gazetecilik meselesinde de birazcık bu. Aslında soru gazetecilikten ne anladığımız. Yapay zekanın ya da deepfake'in bize ne yaptığı değil. Biz burada eğer gazetecilikten etik şeylerin haricinde, kaygıların haricinde bunu bir manipülasyon aracı olarak kullanıyorsanız bunu yapay zekadan önce de yapıyordunuz. Ama gazetecilikten hakikati tabii ki kendi perspektifinizle, yani kimsenin hakikate sahip olması mümkün değil. Hakikati kendi perspektifinizle insanlara sunmayı, önermeyi anlıyorsanız bunu yapay zekayla da çok güzel yapabilirsiniz. Yapay zekadan katkı alarak çok güzel yapabilirsiniz. Teşekkürler.
Teşekkürler İsmail. Anka, please.
So what I see as a concern right now, journalism and articles are mainly consumed on social media now. And they are kind of like, let's say they are manipulated by the algorithms that stand behind social media. I'm not saying manipulated in a bad term here, but we kind of focus on now, like social media uses hyper-personalization, meaning that it gives recommendation based on your own behavior, based on your own personality. It can analyze and it puts everyone in a certain class. And this means that it can create a hyper-personalized reality tunnel, or these echo chambers, in which you read and you hear and you get in contact only with content that suits your personality. This might create biases and might not give us the chance to see other objective views. So I think that the role for a journalist, and I'm not a journalist, would be to try to present things as objectively as possible and to give different perspectives and to educate ourselves in developing our analytical thinking and to look at things from different perspectives. And we do this, we kind of initiated, and I am involved in several organizations and think tanks, and we try to educate students, but even like high school students and even lower, like younger students, on what is AI, and explaining to them how to take news, how to understand what is happening, and how to use each tool in a way that it's responsible, in a way that it allows them to preserve their free will and their own, let's say, personality, and not try to be like others, or as an AI probably tries to dictate us. And ultimately, just one last thing, I think that each of us has a unique feature and won't be replicated by AI, so we all need to think what makes us human and more human than maybe a future AI copy of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anka. Sejin, please.
I agree with Professor Ismail on his idea that the ethics of AI is very closely related to the matter of human moral concern. And whenever I train new reporters, this is the thing that I tell them always, that if you want to earn a lot of money, then you shouldn't be here. You should go and work for Samsung, LG, or Apple. But you shouldn't be here. And I think the process of teaching or incubating the heart of stone, the so-called heart of stone, the nurturing responsibility to even though that you have the power to distribute misinformation and disinformation, but you stick onto your responsibility not to do so. So I think that the journalism sector will need internal support and external support so that they can play their role of the watchdogs, the original watchdog role. So I think the education is important, and the society's support is very important to have the journalists to keep their roles. Yes.
Thank you, Sejin. Josephine, please.
Pour conclure, je dirais bien sûr, comme vous tous, que l'éducation est primordiale, et on voit dès aujourd'hui l'importance de former non seulement les journalistes, mais la jeunesse aussi sur cette nouvelle façon de traiter l'information. Pour terminer sur une note historique, je dirais que finalement, bien avant l'invention de l'intelligence artificielle, déjà en 1274 avant Jésus-Christ, il y avait déjà des deepfakes ou des fake news. Par exemple, la bataille de Kadesh, que je pense tout le monde connaît en Turquie. Le roi des Hittites et le pharaon Ramsès II ont tous les deux dit qu'ils avaient gagné la bataille alors qu'ils avaient combattu l'un contre l'autre. Plus près de nous, il y a eu en 2003 Colin Powell, qui a déclaré, le secrétaire d'État des États-Unis, qui a déclaré devant l'ONU que l'Irak de Saddam Hussein possédait des armes de destruction massive. Et nous n'avions pas l'intelligence artificielle et les outils de l'intelligence artificielle pour décrypter cette fake news. Donc nous devons être très vigilants. Bien sûr, ce sont des nouveaux moyens technologiques et tous les pays doivent adopter, je pense, des régulations et surtout former dès l'école les enfants dès leur scolarité. D'ailleurs, les élèves aujourd'hui font leurs devoirs en utilisant l'intelligence artificielle, ce qui pose un défi aux professeurs, aux éducateurs. Donc, nous sommes tous confrontés à ce grand défi. Je pense qu'il faut nous montrer raisonnablement optimistes.
Well, merci beaucoup. That's a very good, interesting example. But I was just thinking that, you know, in our current media environment, audiences are faced directly with the source, a video. You know, filters are kind of gone. So from what you're saying, what I'm gathering is we need to recreate some of the filters that are going to help us access information in a way that makes the process healthy. I really appreciate all your comments and questions, and I'm sorry for pushing for time, but thank you so much for listening to us. Please join me in congratulating this panel.